My greatest pleasure and indeed an honour to introduce dance world's most acclaimed label owners, producers and DJ duo, the legends that are Layo and Bushwacka. Oh yeah, thanks for playing this evening.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'll kick off. Having released your first album, Low Life, over 10 years ago, how's today's music scene compared to then?
You know, it's very interesting. I was actually listening to that album last week because with the End of the End, we emptied the offices out, and there was a few copies lying around that we hadn't seen for ages. Because what happens is people sort of steal all ours, and we end up with that one ourselves. So it was really nice to go and listen to it again. I guess when we made that album, we completely did our own thing. We didn't follow any guidelines. We weren't answering to anyone, and we made the whole album as a concept of joining the tracks from start to finish, and right across the board tempo wise. I think these days with a lot of dance artists in our scene as DJs, they're making a lot of good producers making very good music, but it's quite similar, the music that they're making. It's kind of within the genre of music that they play, whereas when we've made an album, we've always made music which is really right across the board.
So you've been described as one of the most diverse musical partnerships. How would you describe your musical relationship? As in, is one of you has the artistic creative side and one of you is more sensible and directs it, or?
It's not a question of sensible. I mean, I'm the sound engineer, recording, technical end of stuff. Then how we work together is what Layo does. Brings in, it does a lot of the background research before we make a track. The sounds sourcing, the sample searching, the structural ideas, the conceptual ideas, which we of course work on together as well. And in the studio, that's really good, because when I get quite involved in the technical end of things, Layo's knowledge and creativity combined with what I'm doing and with my creative side might get a little bit lost in the technical end of stuff. Is the second pair of ears that when we're working together, here's things that I won't notice, and kind of vice versa as well. What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's what Matt said just then is obviously correct, but it's also, when you're two people, you're approaching it very, very differently, obviously, to you're one person. Because if you're one person, you just listen to your own feeling, your own voice about it, whereas I come with the kind of ideas which usually we've discussed before I come to the studio. It's not like I just come and say, right, we're doing this. Right. It's like we'll talk about it, and then I'll work within that framework. And then when we get there, we often find that we go quite a long route, but we end up back where we wanted to begin, if that kind of makes sense. So we'll start a track, it'll go probably a little bit not quite where we wanted it to go, but end up coming back where we wanted to go through both our kind of creative routes.
Okay. So you never have any differences then, do you? Or do you get on quite well?
In the studio, the differences are always compromised by what we both realise works. At the end of the day, it has to work, and we get there one way or another. And those kind of differences are irrelevant to any other part of our relationship, because they're just simply
how to make it better.
Yeah, it's a practical thing. I mean, because the creativity can be there, as much as we want it to be. However, we often laugh about stuff that we can come up with a line which at the time sounds great, and like an hour later we're like, or even like, we'll come in 3 days later and we'll turn the track on and what were we thinking? But it's funny. It's never an issue.
No.
It's never like, oh my God, we have to do this, or not, it's like, it's not like that.
I mean, if you saw the differences of opinion, they're about things you probably wouldn't even notice in a track, but they're very minor. But one little aspect may bother one of us.
Yeah.
And usually we disagree for a little while, one doesn't see it, and then either we agree or then the other person comes around and goes, no, it's fine. I mean, it's very subtle, the differences. It's all about making the music better.
Okay. Quite incredible individuals, one Layo Paskin and one Richard West, aka Mr. C. Firstly, you must feel extremely proud to have played such a massive part in leading the London club scene for well over a decade. The standard you guys set inspired so many DJs, promoters and club operators to try harder and harder to up their game. For dance music lovers from all over the planet, it's been nothing short of Clubland's Mecca. It really is sad to see it go. It's closed just 2 weeks ago now. How do you feel? Has it really sunk in yet?
No, I don't think it ever really will sink in. It's just something you get used to a little bit. But we ended it in a way that I feel as proud as I do is in the way that we ran it, and it felt like the right time. And I still don't change that. I still feel that it feels like the right time. I'm proud of what we did. I love doing it. I love working with everyone there. I loved being part of the creative thing. It's really nice what you say. I don't look at it quite in those terms, but it was a wonderful thing to do and an amazing part of my life. I just hope the next stage of my life is as interesting.
Okay, and it seems almost impossible that anyone else could come ever even close to achieving or recreating what you did. What are the chances? Could you maybe, is that complete the end, or could
I think I would
again?
Yeah, I'm always a believer. There's always people doing new interesting things. Someone will do something else really good. It won't be the same, but it'll be really good in a different way.
Talking about it in the car, we just smelt it, I think, both
Really?
of us at the same time. So can't say when, but something might happen in the future.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's some
We're
creative-
working very hard in the studio on a lot of really good 12 inches and remixes at the moment. We've got a lot ready, and we've got a lot of other things we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a couple of new mixes to coincide with the new parties that we're doing, but album is a possibility.
Good. And finally, what's the best thing about being Layo Bushwacka?
I think for me, the opportunity to have travelled so extensively, eaten so well, met so many cool people, and entertained so many people around the world, and made people dance and given them a good time, and work together, have the relationship we've got together. There's so much there. It's great.
And something else would say, we did it all on our own terms, which is really, really, really good. The only person who's ever really helped us in the global sense is Mr. C. But in every other sense, it's been on our terms, which is a nice thing to have done. The mistakes we've made, the successes we've had, have all been kind of our own, which is a nice feeling.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for talking with us today. It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.
I'm Annalie, and you've been watching Junk TV. See ya.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Já faz tempo pensando, eu estou. Eu quero me mostrar, tu não quer me mostrar. Já faz tempo.